Hello everybody, Thy Lord Root here, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. So you might remember from last time that we ended up more or less marooning our astronauts in high Kerbin orbit, after a series of mishaps that I'm quite frankly surprised that either Jebediah or Bill were able to survive. So we've decided to launch a rescue mission, and as you can see, we've actually got this still going on now to where we have this new sort of thing going on to where over the month or so that Bill and Jebediah have remained in orbit, a new orbital computer has been developed, and this is particularly because the pilot, who will be Bob Kerman, has some experience in, running simulations and everything. But for the most part, he's never flown before, so, at least not in this program, so, he's going to need a little bit of help getting up to the proper thing, so, we're not going to make use of this throughout the entire flight, of course, because if we did, then you can imagine the video would be a little bit boring. I mean, there's really nothing to be said if I let MechJeb do the entire flight. But, I mean, we'll get on up there and, hopefully, we'll do just a fine job in the process. So we are wobbling just a little bit, but I mean, we're going to hopefully have a very smooth flight when we do this. Definitely, I think a mission like this, to tell you the truth, is a little bit more difficult than going to the moon because you can be captured by the moon's gravity, right? Trying to match a very eccentric orbit, on the other hand, is not so easy to do. And we're going to need a lot of delta V in order to do that. I mean, it's, you can see here we've already got over 2,000 in this one stage alone. Actually, I should have separated that a long time ago, because those things are heavy. But anyway, the entire deal is, we're going to more or less, bring this thing up into orbit, and then we're going to plan from there. So we're already pretty close to the point where we need to do the gravity turn. And, hopefully what's going to happen here is we're going to end up, getting into orbit very easily and then planning our maneuver. You'll notice that one of the things that I've done here is I've actually made it to where, I don't have to worry about, checking the map all the time anymore. I mean, it's, the nice thing about MechJeb is it does give you readouts on, like, for instance, where your periapsis is going to be. So that is, very useful in my opinion. I mean, it's, lets me know just when to cut out the engines, because that'll be very useful in and of itself. But, at any rate, as we'll see, we will end up, with a lot of fuel left over. I mean, it's, we are already getting to the point to where we can, in fact, bring this down just a little bit so that we, more or less hit our 100K orbit. And there we go. We still have plenty of fuel to spare, so let's go ahead and circularize this thing. It's not going to take too terribly long, hopefully. But it will require a lot of delta V, just because of, the mass of our rocket. So, let's just bring this up. We'll get into position. I'm going to, bring this thing down just a little bit. Let's see if we can actually refine that orbit some, because one of the things we want to be wary of is, actually, getting to the point to where we overdo it. So, this thing will probably drop into the atmosphere before too long. I mean, I think this is going to be a mid-stage burn or whatever. You know what, we'll just turn off this SAS real quick so we can very quickly get to the node. We're gonna oscillate probably a little. But we're going to go ahead and make this burn. And then hopefully before too long, we'll end up rescuing these two because they've had to hold their pee for, over a month now. I mean, I don't know, do you think that these things come with, toilets? Because that would actually be really interesting if they did, you know? Anyway, we're almost where we need to be. Can we hit the rest of that? You know what, I'm not going to stick around to find out. I'm going to, more or less get this thing up into orbit as soon as possible. We're gonna need to go a little bit further out, probably. Just so we can, bring this thing down. So periaps is fairly close by. I'm going to, raise it just a little bit up to 100K or so, and we'll circularize, pretty soon, so we'll just get rid of this node. It's getting in the way now. And I think we're close enough to our periapsis that, we can bring this down quite a deal. We've got plenty of delta V. Let's see, where's Apple Apps? We got plenty of delta V to spare, but, there we go. I'll take that. I think that that's going to be a good orbit right there. But we don't want to use too much of it in this. I mean, it's, because it is going to be a long trip. So, we're just going to bring this down to, I don't know, I'm going to start the burn about maybe 5 seconds in. And I'm going to call that close enough. And so let's go ahead and first of all, I'm going to save here. We got well over, 1800 meters per second at delta V. Let's just go ahead and use what we put MechJeb on here for. Let's go ahead and try this intercept. So one of the things we can do, of course, is we can we can set this thing up to where it more or less, warps in between. That'll be nice because we don't want to have to worry about it. In fact, it's probably going to warp now. It's going to go as fast as it can. With that having been said, we do have a very bizarre sort of orbit here with 40k separation, which is a lot, or rather, 4000k, 40 mil, or 4 mil, it's not going to be easy to do that, but we have more than enough fuel, I think. I mean, we're gonna have over 1,000 meters per second left whenever we do this. And hopefully, this thing will do its thing and get us to our thing very quickly. So, I'm just going to let it, do what it has to. In principle, we could almost use a gravity assist, given where the moon is, although it'll probably be way out there whenever we get up to that, up to our apoapsis here. But we shouldn't have to worry too much. I mean, this thing does do a very good job. And I mean, we're going to have, at this point, probably by the time we're done, 400 or 500 meters per second. This is going to get us in very close. This is going to, bring us in at about 7 kilometers or so, which is going to be very good for us. And then, it'll go ahead, it'll make the burn here, and I'm actually really impressed that it ended up, doing all of this at apoapsis, or putting its apoapsis out here where the, where it intersects the trajectory of our marooned space pod. But at any rate, it leaves us with a lot of fuel. So, what we could do here is when we rendezvous, we may just end up, quickly transferring these guys out, because, I mean, seriously, is going to take a fairly long time to do this, and I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they maybe got another day or so. What's it doing here that's causing it to go slightly off the target? I mean, we are pretty close. We're only about 4 kilometers off, so it's, in my mind, it's doing a very good job of doing all this. That brings us down to a very, very close intersect. We're less than 100 meters away, or will be, rather. Although it's, it's being very weird about it. It's doing stuff that I'm not entirely sure, why it's doing what it's doing. I mean, I guess it's so that, it gets as close to that target velocity as possible. Well, I mean, we're very close as it is right now. We're going to, once it burns, we are going to, be about within that 100-meter mark. And it looks like it's finished, so, yeah, we'll perform this transfer real quick. And that should be pretty easy to do. Let's see how much delta V we have left. We have over 500 meters a second, so that is, in my mind, that's more or less worth it, you know. I'm going to pretty much just use RCS to do this, because, you know, without RCS this could get pretty tricky. We don't want to kill our Kerbals. And the chances are that, you know, whenever we get close enough that, you know, we're going to end up, you know, really just waiting for this thing to, waiting to get our astronauts on, and after that, you know, just landing or something like that. So one thing I do think that is worth mentioning is that I actually have not tested the landing portion of this, so we may end up killing everybody. I don't know. If so, then that is going to definitely be a bit of a problem. But I'm just going to get this thing in as close as I possibly can, because really we're moving a little bit too fast as it is already. And you know, I'm willing to reckon that we're going to be more than close enough once we do this. I mean, I would think 15 meters is fine at this point. And so I guess the question is, you know, how do we set this thing up so that it's easiest for the Kerbals to get in? And I'm guessing maybe, you know, something a little bit like that to where the door is just right there. I really should have brought lights with me. I guess it's too late for that now. And I mean, to be fair, we barely have any or we're losing electricity fairly constantly. So it's a good thing we've got RCS. Anyway, I'm going to switch to this other pod here, this lander, and we are going to go ahead and make the crew transfer. So this thing is probably just going to hang around in orbit. We could, I guess, in principle, you know, we could do something like, I guess, like, maybe send a missile after it later or something like that, but we don't really have to worry about it too much, because, I mean, it's going to be fairly easy to, in my mind, to control. And let's see. I mean, we just, you know, we have to be very careful here. Although we're, you know, we're pretty much, we're fairly close. We're not going to worry about getting out and pushing this thing this time. And I think we actually ended up very slightly under the craft. But that's okay, we're, you know, we're pretty close to getting this Kerbal in. And we fortunately have plenty of fuel, so, we'll just go ahead and board the spaceship. So Bill's in, let's get Jebediah. with, you know, Jebediah always being the trooper, he more or less, you know, hates to to have to leave a vessel behind, but there's really nothing else that could be done at this point. So, he's just going to have to suck it up, I guess. I guess Jebediah, showing his superior experience, has gotten in, so we now have 3 Kerbals on board, and we are now going to, well, I'm going to do something to lower this this periapsis, I think. There may not be much we can do, but we have over 500, you know, meters to play around with, or meters per second, rather. One thing I did notice is that with this thing, it is a lot more difficult to control with other Kerbals in it. Is that bringing in our periapsis? Yeah, it is. So we sort of over-engineered this thing, as it turns out. I mean, let's bring up our, see, where is that, our orbit info? So yeah, we actually have a lot more in the way of fuel than I thought we did. Now I wonder, can we attempt a landing at KSC? That's a good question. Although, I suppose in reality, like, it wouldn't be too hard for me to... I'm gonna bring this in just a little bit. I guess we'll land in the ocean. That's about KSC, I think. It's about where South America is. And KSC does look a lot like South America, in my opinion. Now, I mean, the real question, I think, is going to be... well, it looks like we're completely out of fuel. So, we're going to have to... Whoa. We're going to have to rely on the atmosphere to get us down. And hopefully we won't run into this spacecraft. Or at least I'm hoping not, anyway. So, our orbital speed is damn near 3 kilometers per second. That's pretty crazy. That means we're going to, you know, to end up, I guess, more or less crashing and burning. We actually are pretty close to the Space Center, it looks like. I mean, that's, I think that's it right there. We do have plenty of RCS fuel available, so, what we can do is we can just bring this thing in just a little bit more. I'll turn on RCS and I will begin burning to try to at least bring our surface velocity down, because that is going to be a problem if we don't. I mean, we are in effect going to crash into the ocean, coming in at this very, very high velocity. And if we don't really use our RCS here, we're going to end up with the issue that, you know, we're going to crash into the planet very, very quickly. And so I guess the question is, at this point, can this thing be salvaged? Because I mean, this is coming in extremely fast. I'm hoping, at the very least, that, you know, our chutes will be able to slow us down, but this is not boding well. Although I think by using that RCS, we did more or less get this thing down to a good velocity. So I'm just going to deploy this thing, and hopefully it will be enough. I mean, we are going a whole lot more slowly this time, and whoa! Well, so much for that. We just completely lost our crew. I suppose we should have slowed down just a little bit more. Or maybe I should have put more parachutes on this thing. Or something. I mean, I guess there's really nothing we can do about it now. Just because of the fact that, you know... I guess in reality what I should have done was I should have used a circular pod. But, I mean, at least, you know, it's still... At least we did something, you know, at least we managed to almost grab the crew. Let's see exactly how this played out. If we go to, end our flight, and go to the Space Center, hopefully it'll tell us, oh, it looks like we're still moving just a little bit. Let's wait for this thing to study out, or whatever. There we go. Now if we go to the Space Center, hopefully it'll tell us, you know, what all we lost. Although I'm sure at the rate we fell, the chances are likely that Bill and Jebediah have yet again crashed, but they will be reanimated as heroes. So anyway, this has been Thy Lord Root, and I will see you next time.